Hello, welcome to An Abundance of Books. My name is Julia and it is the long anticipated mid-year freakout tag. I am a purist about this. I know some people put it out in June. I am not one of those people. It needs to be exactly at the halfway point. So far this year I have read 46 books and around 14,000 pages. My goal for the year is always 100 books. So I'm a little bit behind pace, but I've definitely been slacking the first half of the year, but I'm feeling motivated today. Who knows how I'll feel tomorrow, but I'm hopeful that I can hit that 100. I don't want to fudge anything to get there, but that's not why you're here. You're here to answer questions. You're not here to answer questions. I'm here to answer questions. What am I doing? We are professionals. Let's go ahead and get started with the first question, which is, what is the best book that you've read this year? Which I think you could answer in a couple of different ways, but I'm going to go with what I think is the best written, the best quality, the easiest thing that I can recommend to people, and that is Winter Dance by Gary Paulsen. This is a non-fiction book about this man running the Iditarod race in Alaska in the 80s and the comedy of errors that happened to him along the way. It's so well written. He's a YA author already, and so him writing nonfiction just really flows. It's such an interesting story. It's funny, it's heartfelt. There is some dog death, so know that going in, but it's an incredible book, and I think I could recommend this to anybody in my life, reader or not, and they would have a good time. And it's nonfiction. It's incredible. Question 2 is the best sequel, and I'm going to cheat a little bit for this because my answer is The Wedding Crasher by Mia Sosa, which is a romance companion. You know, they're series, but they're not really series. But I haven't read anything else in this series, but I don't read sequels generally, so this is what we're going with. This is a story of a woman who crashes a wedding, as the title would suggest, and then has to end up fake dating the groom for reasons. And it's so good. It's one of the best rom-coms that I've ever read. It does all the calm things that you want it to do, all the fake dating stuff that you want it to do, while also having a real focus on the family element, and it's all seamlessly integrated, and I just loved it. Question 3 is a new release that you haven't read yet but want to. What did I put for that? I have no idea. Oh, yeah. Episode 13 by Craig DeLuey. This has been getting all the buzz this year, and I was like generally excited about it, and then I went to see it in a physical store, and it's all multimedia, but approachable multimedia for me, I think. Transcripts and text messages, I do well with that. This is about a ghost hunting show, and maybe there are real ghosts. I don't know anything. I don't want to know anything, but I will hopefully be reading this very soon. Next question is your most anticipated release for the second half of the year. This one I actually didn't have many. I think a lot of what I was waiting on came out in June, but the only one that doesn't, comes out in July, is the new Samantha Downing A Twisted Love Story. My Lovely Wife is an incredible thriller, and this seems to be sort of in the vein of that, and I just need to know what it is. Question 5 is your biggest disappointment. That's an easy one. Our Missing Hearts by Celeste Ng. This is Celeste Ng's third novel. I've given the other two both 5 stars, both favorites of all time, and this is definitely not that. It wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be based on the first couple of pages, but it is not good. First of all, it's written without any quotation marks, which should be a crime. We shouldn't let people publish books like that. But it's just not a very interesting story to me. The momentum is all taken out of it. It has some interesting things to say, but I don't think the way that it said it worked for this kind of story. Other people love it though, so don't take my word for it. The next question is your biggest surprise, and for me that is 1984 by George Orwell. A surprise because I loved this. I thought that it was so approachable and so readable and so relevant, and I didn't anticipate this. This is like the classic that I've enjoyed the most. Can I say that? It's definitely more of a modern classic. I think it was written in the 40s. Oh, it doesn't say because it's in the public domain. Interesting. I believe this was written in the 40s, and I just had a great time. I thought that the conversation's really interesting. The direction that it went I didn't see coming. Next question is favorite new author, and for this one I'm trying not to double up on answers, but I think I'm going to go with Alexis Henderson, author of The House of Hunger. This is the only one that I've read by them, but I'm excited to get to the Year of the Witching whenever I do. But I thought the writing especially was a real standout in this, and for being a YA, maybe new adult kind of story, was really effective at that while still seeming elevated in some ways. This is the story about a woman who signs up to be a blood maiden. That's what they're called. The rich suck the bloods of the lowly people, and the wild stuff that happens on that. They're not vampires, but like, you know, on the property, and the other blood maidens that she surrounds herself with. Really good. Also very unexpected. Question 8 is newest fictional crush, which I know we all skip, but I kind of have an answer for this year, and that is The Boy in Happy Place by Emily Henry. He does this speech near the end of the book that is one of the most beautiful things that I've ever read, and just made me fall in love with him. Next question is new favorite character. That is an easy one. It is Dorothy Daniels from A Certain Hunger by Chelsea G. Summers. This one was also in contention for favorite new author because I think that the writing in this book is incredible, but the story here is about Dorothy Daniels writing her memoir. She is now in prison for murder and some cannibalism maybe, and she's just such a compelling character. You really feel like you know her, that she's a real person. You spend decades of her life with her, and she's so herself. She's very unlikable, but you can never say that she's not herself, and I feel like I really understood who she was, and she's my favorite. The next question is book that made you cry, and I had to double up on this one because Happy Place by Emily Henry has made me cry more than any other book maybe ever. It was the type of crying that happens when I watch Inside Out, which is like one of my favorite movies, but I can't watch because I will be a puddle for hours, potentially days after. This book is about a group of friends who are college friends, and they all go to this summer home every year for a vacation. They've been doing it for years and years, and this is the last one, and so they have to make all of their memories while figuring out how they're going to transition into the future. It's definitely a heavier Emily Henry, but in the best way. I read this while I was on vacation, and I just sat on the deck and cried for hours. Like the last 30%, I was crying the entire time. And then I finished it and I'd be fine, and then something would remind me of it and I'd just start crying again. And ooh, it's such a good book. The next question is book that made you happy, which ironically is not Happy Place. It did make me happy, but more it made me cry. The book that made me happy is The Blinds by Adam Sternberg. Are you sick of hearing me talk about this yet? This made me happy for a couple of reasons, because I love this book. I think that this is so much fun, but I also love it because this was the first reread that I did this year, and sort of cemented in my mind that I can reread and I enjoy rereading, and that it's really good for me emotionally and mentally and stuff. So yeah, this one made me very happy. The next question is most beautiful book that you have bought this year. There is no contest. These Brandon Sanderson books are stunning. They're incredible. End pages, perfect. Title page, perfect. Part pages, perfect. Full page illustrations. They lean a little green for me, but the care and attention that was put into this book, even things like the chapter titles, they change a little bit every time. These vines sort of grow and change as the story progresses. It's the kind of book where, like, I have the audiobook, but why would I do it when I would miss all the little bits in here? And I do also have the Frugal Wizard's Handbook for Surviving Medieval England. I always just call it Frugal Wizard, and I haven't read this one yet, but it looks to be equally, if not more, stunning. This book is incredible. This is up there for maybe not best, but like most recommendable book. It is very reminiscent of The Princess Bride in the humor and the pacing, and I love the setup and payoff in this book. If there's one thing Brandon Sanderson is good at, it is setup and payoff, and this is incredible. Having a standalone from him about pirates, what could go wrong? If you haven't read this, I know that the non-Kickstarter editions aren't as beautiful, but it is definitely worth the read. And then the final question is, what are some books that you need to read by the end of the year? Of course, there are always tons, but there's one thing that I committed to at the beginning of the year, and that was to read Indigo's top 10 books of last year. And I have 3 left. And they are Nemwetu, The Marriage Portrait, and Freezing Order. And of course, there's always a point in the year when I think, can I abandon this project? Am I really that interested in these books? But 2 of them I am actively interested in. Marriage Portrait is the only one that I'm not super into, but I've got the audiobook for it and I can always DNF it if I need to. So yeah, I'm excited to finish that and say that I finished it. So that is it for the mid-year book freakout tag. Let me know how your reading's going, what the best book that you've read so far this year is. Give me some recommendations, and thank you for watching, and I'll see you very soon in another video.